All the way from Canada to speak here today. Give a big clap of the hand, Tanya, Janca. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to my talk, even though you're probably all full of food and really happy. Thank you very much. Today, I want to talk about how security is everybody's job, not just the security team. I mean this absolutely literally, but I'm going to explain as I continue. OK, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about taking DevOps and turning it into DevSecOps. And by that, I mean making security a part of your daily work. So this talk is not a talk for security teams. It's more of a talk for developers and ops people. But I'm still going to go over some of the security stuff, but I'm not going to dive deep into the security stuff because then I will not make it in my 45 minutes that I have, which reminds me to set my timer. OK, I don't know. I'm not presenting on my machine. OK, there we go. OK, so who here has seen this slide? This is what a lot of people think about DevOps. They think that it is the magical unicorn pony Pegasus of DevOps, pooping rainbows and security cleaning it up. But that's not how I see it. I like to think of it more like this, that it is the security team teaching dev and ops about security, enabling them, giving them tools, helping them. This is the way I see it. OK, so now for the part where I attempt to impress you with my credentials. So I'm Tanya Janca. I'm a giant nerd. Sometimes this is me. And on the internet, I'm called She Hacks Purple. And I work for a little startup. You might have heard of us. We're called Microsoft. And I have a really weird title, Cloud Developer Advocate. What does that mean? I didn't know either. So it means that I do a lot of things. But basically, I get feedback from the community. So I try to change our products so they're more secure and provide feedback like from all of you, like when you're like, this breaks everything. And then we change it. And then I get to do security research, like this talk, and then release it to the community. And I think it's pretty cool that I get to do that. So awesome. I call myself an application security evangelist, but I'm not like this guy. I'm way more like this guy. And I'm an ethical hacker. I want to know how the insides of things look. And I kind of like smashing things. I'm obsessed with OWASP. And I'm so obsessed that I have a project. I have a chapter. And I have a project, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I've been coding for a really long time. I'm told I look younger than I am, I guess. So imagine me being like, add 10 to what you think. And then, so I've been a nerd a long time. And this is me the last time I came to Israel speaking for the awesome OWASP chapter that has organized this day for us today. Yes! Thank you to all the volunteers. This was a lot of work. And my goal is to try to make security easier, because right now, making something secure is so hard. It's ridiculously hard. Right now, if you do the thing, and then you add security, and you add all these extra things, but what if the default way to make anything was the secure way? Right? That's my goal. But OK, enough about me. That's lots. Let's do this. OK, so this is like a cute little guy that someone on my team drew, and he will make appearances throughout my slides. OK, so first I'm going to cover a little bit about application security. Because you're at an OWASP event, you probably know, so I will go fast. But sometimes people, this is their first time at anything OWASP, and this is their first AppSec thing, and I don't want to leave part of the audience behind. So please forgive this like 1 or 2 minutes. OK, so what is AppSec, or application security? It's every and anything that you do that makes your app more secure, that you're trying to do to try to make your app more secure. So if you do a secure code review, awesome, AppSec. If you have a penetration test done on your app, awesome, AppSec. If you are grepping through your source code, looking for an old function that you now know is insecure so you can change it to a new function, that's AppSec. It doesn't have to be a formal process, right? Like whatever you're doing to try to make your thing more secure, you're doing something AppSec. OK, so, oh, yes. Who said that? Me. OK, so poor application security is this giant problem. A lot of people might not be aware, but it causes a whole bunch of breaches. Like, it is the biggest cause of breaches in the world for the past 2 years, according to the Verizon breach report. These guys, see how one of them's really big? That's us. But if you look at your budget for security, you are not spending 29 to 40% of it on AppSec. You're not. And that's part of the problem. Okay, but more of the problem is that when we go to school, I'd like to note that in Israel this is different, because you all do army service. And if you choose the stream of technology, you are going to learn a lot of cyber. I'm jealous, because in Canada, we get basically none. Your programs here in your universities are really awesome. But the ones in my universities are not. And the ones across North America, mostly if you take Comp Sci or Soft Eng, you get one security course, maybe 2, and it's certainly not a deep dive into application security, right? You can't graduate from an AppSec program. So people who learn it have to kind of muddle through on their own. And so this doesn't apply to Israel as much as it does in other countries. You guys are really ahead on this. Good work. Okay, so another problem is security is outnumbered. See how she's by herself? They say that the average for dev to ops to sec is 100 to 10 to 1. I would love to work somewhere where I only have to face 100 developers. I have worked at many places doing AppSec where it's 400 to 1, 600 to 1, 2,000 to 1. So imagine a cup, and then someone pours it and fills it, but then they keep pouring for 2 years. And then that's what my inbox looked like. And you can't help everyone. And you can't work harder. You just have to work smarter, which is where DevOps comes in. Okay, do you see this? This is dinosaurs frolicking in a waterfall. And I tweet this at people when I feel sarcastic. Because waterfall never really worked super well. And the accompanying security model for waterfall, which I affectionately refer to as hurry up and wait, it kind of sucks. It's not great. It's very difficult to get a super secure product at the end unless you have a ton of security resources. And as we know, funding is limited for security. Okay, so that's the end of the review. Now it's new stuff. So who here has done anything DevOps-y before? Who here wants to do something DevOps-y? Yeah. What? Not all the hands? I'm going to make you raise your hands a lot. It's going to be kind of exercise. I'm wearing a Fitbit, and sometimes it will tell me that I did aerobics when I'm on stage. So I'm sorry if your arms are really heavy after lunch, but I'm a meanie, and I'm going to ask you to put them up a few times. Okay, so what are the 3 main goals of DevOps? Does anyone feel super brave and want to answer one of the 3 main goals? Okay, I'm going to let you off on this one. What? Automation? Yeah, automation. And by that, we mean improving the entire flow. Basically, the goals of DevOps are to release more often, to have things be more resilient, to have less breakage, and to get to market way faster. That's basically it, but you use automation a lot. So you're kind of really right. So a lot of you might not think so, but all of those goals completely line up with security's goals. Let's look. Okay, so improved deployment frequency. What does that mean? You can fix my security problem right now. This is fantastic. I used to work somewhere, and we had an emergency, a meltdown of awfulness, and they said an emergency release would take 4 months. Their amazing waterfall release cycle was 16 months for a new feature. That's insanity. And with DevOps, as soon as they figure out how to fix it, you could have that out, in half an hour, maybe 2 hours? It's amazing. So that is definitely in line with what we want. Lower failure rates, resiliency. Who here has seen this before? The CIA triad, confidentiality, availability, and integrity. This is why I have a job. This is why all the security people have a job. This is our mandate. And it makes me sad when I tell a lot of developers about this and I ask who's seen this, and then 10 hands go up. Because this is the reason why the security people are bothering you. This is literally the reason we're annoying you. And we just care that the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your systems, your data, are secure, that they're up, they're running, they're going great. So if we go back to the previous slide, lower failure rates, resiliency equals the A in CIA, availability. So if your app is up more often and it's tougher, thumbs up. Okay, up next, faster time to market. Sometimes people forget that the security team's job is to enable the business to do whatever it is that they need to do securely. So if they aren't getting to market, if they aren't succeeding and making money, no one needs a security team anymore, right? So them getting to market faster is totally in line with what, because if the business doesn't win, we don't win either, right? If the security team is stopping and slowing things and we are missing business deadlines and we are not doing as well in the market, then we're failing. We're disabling the business. So all of the goals of DevOps are totally in line with the security team's goals. Okay, next. So DevOps is the best thing to happen to application security since OWASP. Signed me. I already told you about my love affair with OWASP. So me saying this is like the biggest compliment that I could ever say to anyone. I really, truly feel like DevOps is a better way to make software. And if we're not doing IT right, we can't do security right. So with all of DevOps things happening really well, smoothly, reliably, that means security can weave ourselves into it. And then we can happen reliably, right? Like, I don't know how many of you have seen like something go out to prod and you're like, oh, I'm the security team, and I've never heard of that. Yeah, that's not good. You can't secure it if you don't know you have it. Okay, so let's look at DevOps and the 3 ways. Who feels brave and wants to say one of the 3 ways? Come on, someone say one. Yeah. Pardon? To have a separate DevOps team? Okay, maybe that's one of the things you could do, but it's not. Who here has heard of the 3 ways of DevOps? So these are the 3 things you need to do to achieve DevOps. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you all about it. I have lots of time. Okay, so the 3 ways of DevOps are, the first one is you want to increase the efficiency of the entire system. The entire SDLC needs to go faster. So that means if I'm part of just this one part and I make mine go way faster, but everything else is still just as slow, it's like I didn't do it. It doesn't matter, right? It's better to spend more time on the bottleneck and fix that than just fix your part. I know that might sound weird because we all want to work for our team's goals, but the whole system is emphasized. That's extremely important. Another thing about DevOps is you want fast feedback. You want feedback loops right away. You do not want to hear after you've gone to prod that you have a big problem, a design flaw, a security flaw. You want to know right away. So the point of DevOps is to just get really, really fast feedback all the time. All the time you're getting feedback about things, so you can fix it right away. And then the last thing is continuous learning, experimentation, risk-taking, sometimes called failing fast. So you need to take time to actually learn. You have to keep learning, because otherwise you're doing things the old way. Who here has worked with someone who's super senior, who clearly has not learned anything in a decade? And they're doing things really the old way. Yes. You don't want to be that person. Okay, so now we are experts in DevOps in the 3 ways, right? Oh, come on, guys. Who here is awake? Okay, yes, that's some hands. Half of you are awake. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about adding security to each of the 3 ways. And if you are converting to DevOps right now, and you're not all the way there, but you're part of the way there, you can still weave some of these things in. And if you're doing waterfall, there's still room to add some of this, so please don't go back to sleep. Okay, so emphasizing the efficiency of the entire system. So that's left to right. Like if we look at, so it means we want to go super fast. See, like obviously I'm a professional animator with that. So emphasizing the speed of the entire system, the efficiency of the entire system. I've worked at a lot of places where things get to the security team and then they sit in someone's inbox for 4 weeks. That's not acceptable under the DevOps rules. So what does this mean for the security team? Well, it means we have to go buy running shoes, and we have to learn to sprint. We cannot be the hurry up and wait people anymore. We cannot be a bottleneck. That is not allowed. It also means we can only stop things if there's a true emergency. In manufacturing, on like a big assembly line, there's this thing called the and-on cord. And you only pull it if you really need to. But if you don't pull it when you should have, that's another problem, right? If you're letting defects go by you and bad things are happening and you didn't pull it, that's even worse, right? So it means the security team can only pull it if they really, really need to. But this isn't a talk for security teams. This is a talk for dev and ops. So what does making the entire system more efficient mean for dev and ops? It means lots of things. It means helping my team, the AppSec team, tune our tools so that they're more secure, or tune our tools so they don't slow you down. I want to give you 0 false positives, but then I need your help, right? I'm going to try my absolute best to tune it, but I'm going to need your team's involvement. So for static code analysis or for dynamic application security testing, so SAST and DAST, as they are called, or IAST, all of those things, I need your teams, the experts, to help me tune them to make sure they're not slowing you down. Just a second. I'm going to just like move some stuff around because I'm not on my computer. OK, and the other thing that you want to do is if you find security bugs, and you don't have time to fix them right away, and they're going to go into the next sprint, you need to put them in the defect tracker. You can't pretend they didn't happen. And please don't mark them as fixed when I'm not looking because I'm on to you. I've had that happen, and I'm like, so please don't do that. OK, what else does it mean for dev and ops? It means a lot of things. It means using templates, so like repeating known good things. I used to work somewhere, and we made custom apps for other groups, and there would be like a login screen for every one of them because single sign-on wasn't a thing yet. Yes, I'm old. And we would just use the same one over and over again because we'd had it tested by a hacker, a few of them, and we knew it was quite secure. And so we just kept reusing it and then just testing the template, right? And then if there was a problem, we would update the template, and then that would go out to all of our apps. And also, if like some testing was done on some code and we knew it was good, we would just put it in a part of our library for secure code so that everyone could reuse the same thing. It also means if you're going to release an image, make sure it's been scanned. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure it's perfect, right? A golden, nice new image. No one should be redeploying the old one from 4 months ago, right? We should all be always using the newest same one. And we should also have like automated periodic scanning. And we need, the security team, we need help from all of you, dev and ops, to make sure that this happens efficiently and we're not slowing you down. OK, so this is the photo slide. I'm going to have 4 photo slides. So I'm going to show you pictures, and I'm going to talk. And then after, I'm going to have a summary of what I said so that if you don't want to take notes, you can just take a picture of this. There's going to be 4. This is number 1. OK. OK. Cameras, good? OK. Everyone's good? Thank you. OK. So this means a lot of stuff for dev and ops. Improving the efficiency of the entire system, which is the first of the 3 ways, which is kind of the most popular. Like, it's the one that most people think of when they think of DevOps. So it also means so sometimes application security teams will make a separate pipeline that's just for security. Now, I know you want your pipeline to only give us like 7 minutes or 8 minutes or 12 minutes for security, but sometimes we make a separate pipeline that you run on Friday before you go home for the weekend, and it runs until Sunday night, and it's going to find a huge pile of things. And you add that to the defect tracker. Those are things that are like that take way longer to run, that we just can't run during the thing. And then when you come up to the security sprint, you fix those, right? Or if you have extra time, I know developers are like, what, extra time? Are you kidding? But sometimes you do. Sometimes you finish your work early. You could knock off a couple of those. So if we make one for you, please use it. Another thing you can do is So right now, each app that's released, like 70 to 80% of it is actually third-party components or code, like libraries, plugins, all of those things, right? And you didn't write that code, but you are responsible for the risk. You have accepted the risk by taking that code in. So a thing you can do is you can use something like Snake, Black Duck, OWASP dependency check, OWASP dependency track, like one's for CI/CD, one's for not CI/CD. And it will scan all of your libraries and tell you, hey, there's known vulnerabilities in that, and it's really scary. You should upgrade it, or you should not use that exact version. You should, go up one. This is super, super helpful. If there's known vulnerabilities in a component that you're using, especially if it's like a really bad one, like remote code execution, you better believe it that Metasploit has a module just for you. You don't want that. You definitely want to upgrade those. Okay, another thing you can do is use something called negative use cases. Okay, so positive unit tests. So they're little quick tests to make sure your code is doing what it's supposed to do. You give it good data, it does what it's supposed to do. A negative unit test is where you do the opposite. You give it crap data, and then you make sure that it reacts positively and it handles it, that it gracefully does what it's supposed to do. No stack traces, no SQL Server errors, none of that, right? So negative unit tests ensure your app fails gracefully. This is really, really important because when it fails not gracefully, this is when hackers have the most fun. So you can add this to your CI/CD pipeline, and it will do tons and tons of security checks, and all you've done is just flipped the data that you've already written into your unit test. It's like a super efficient way to get lots of tests done. Okay, so this is my summary this is the photo slide. It's happening again. Am I loud enough for everyone? Is this okay? Okay, could you turn the volume up on this a bit? To the person So faster feedback loops. So what do I mean by that? I mean right to left, and I mean pushing left, shifting left. I want feedback. We can just leave it. I don't want to distract. Okay. Okay, cool, thank you. It's cool. You know we're nervous up here, right? Okay, so pushing left is my favorite thing. I really, really, really want feedback immediately. If there's a problem with my requirements, if there's like a security requirement missing, I don't want to find out after I've released it and someone has exploited my app. If there's a design flaw or a security bug, if I've made a coding error, I want to know right away, not at the end. And what a lot of us would say is it's cheaper. It's way cheaper to push left. So this is how I convince bosses we should do it. Not because it keeps me up at night or it makes my job easier, but because of money. So if you fix a bug during coding, $80. During build, $240. QA, unit testing, more, and production, even more. And when you fix a security bug in production, you don't know if an incident has happened, because then you should maybe add a 0 to that, right? And these aren't my specific numbers. There's like credit at the bottom of the screen, but the point is if you fix a bug sooner, it's cheaper, it's easier, it's faster, there's less requirement for heroics. I don't want to be a hero at work. I don't want to stay late. I don't like canceling plans. I don't like being up in the middle of the night. Okay, more stuff's happening. Okay, so what does this mean for security? It means pushing left, right? It means that we need to be involved at the beginning and the entire way through of the system development lifecycle. It means that we can't just come in at the end. I had a job once, and I was supposed to be doing AppSec, but all I did was incident response. And I was telling them, like, don't you understand all I do is incident response because you won't give me any time to do application security? Like if you would just let me do like a cursory scan of everyone's apps and just hand each of them 100 bugs and get them fixing that. And in like 3 months, we will have way less incidents. Like, come on. And eventually I quit because 3 out of every 4 weeks I was doing incident response. And I consider that the worst. It's so stressful. Okay, so forget the security team. What does this mean for dev and ops, right? Well, first of all, it means telling the security team what you're concerned about. If we have implemented something and it has slowed you way down or made your life hell, please tell us. Don't talk behind our back. Like, you can do that too, but tell us so we can fix it. We can't fix it if we don't know. Sometimes we think we've done something totally awesome, but it's not. Feedback goes both ways. So let me give you an example. Oh, no. Okay. All right. I like walking. Like, I really like it. Okay, so let me give you an example. Who here has heard of Netflix, the kind of like streaming TV show? Yeah. Okay, I really like it, and I love their AppSec team. They're so awesome, and they're very creative. So they made this thing called Repo Man, and what it would do is it would go around repealing permissions from different things that it thought that these things weren't using, and it broke a lot of stuff. And they became very unpopular and not invited to parties. And the security team doesn't want that. So they took it away, and then they made something called Repo Kid. And what Repo Kid would do is they would send out their new instances with a certain permission set, and then it would watch. Did it use that one? Did it use this one? And it would start slowly repealing things, and if it still kept working, it would repeal it down to the least amount of permissions possible. Because security teams always want everyone to be using least privilege, the least amount of access and privileges and power that something needs, but to still be able to do its entire job. And so they took that feedback from the developers and mostly from the ops teams, and then addressed it. And then now they're invited to parties again, and that's important. I'd like to have like a brief side tangent, so my friend Clint, so just ignore the whole slide, just look at this part. See this? Non-cryptographically secure MD5. So he works somewhere, and all the developers were using the MD5 hash because they're used to using it. And he just wrote a wrapper around it so it would tell them right away, instantaneous feedback. You know, this is old crap, right? Usage went down 95%. And he didn't break anything, right? So the people that really, really needed to use it could still use it. But anyone new doing stuff would see, oh, I'm not supposed to use that anymore. Look, it's telling me immediately. So this is another way to get instant feedback. Okay, so what else does this mean for dev and ops? Well, first of all, if a security test fails, it needs to break the build. No one booed, that's great. If security tests fail as part of your CI/CD pipeline, it has to break the build if it's above a certain threshold. Right? You can't have highs and criticals going out to the public. Okay, so everyone remained pretty calm for that one. That's good. I'll say it again later. Maybe you're all asleep. Another thing you can do is if you have a penetration test done on one app, so your dev team, I don't know about you, but I've worked on a dev team where we supported 72 apps, right? That same programmer that made that mistake on that one thing will probably make a mistake somewhere else, the exact same one on another app. So take this list you got from the pen tester and then really get your money's worth and go check all your other apps for these problems, because it's the same developers, it's probably the same problems. And it's the same with any ops things too. I've done this before where I'm like, oh, we're using those crappy ciphers on that app, let's go check all our other apps. Oh, they're there too, right? So this is a way that you can get your money's worth and be more efficient. Another thing you can do is, awesome, is you can participate in security activities. What do I mean by that? So if there's an incident, please help us. You are literally the experts. We're so helpless without you. If we can't see what's going on, if we don't even know where the app is that's been broken into, if we don't have any access to the server, we need your assistance. If we do threat modeling, please participate. I know that all of you have limited time, but you make this better. If there's a security sprint, please don't use this as an excuse to catch up on other things you're supposed to do in your previous sprint. Please do the security stuff, etc. And the last thing on this slide is, if you can, learn to use security tools, right? There's an awesome tool called OWASP Zap. You could be like, choo choo, against your app. You could do testing before it even gets to the security team, right? You can run it on your local host. You can find a lot of things that are wrong. If the security team gives you security tools and they teach you how to use them, you should, in my opinion. I know I'm biased, I know. Okay, so here is the photo slide. This is number 3. There are 4 photo slides, but at the end you might want to take photos. So again, security needs to become a part of your definition of quality. It's not a high quality product if it's insecure. We're going to come back to this, because that's the one thing I really want you to take away from this presentation, is that security is a part of quality. If your app is beautiful, it runs really fast, it does everything the client asked, but I can break in under 5 minutes, it's crap. Oh, I sounded so intense there, sorry. Okay, continuous learning. I feel intensely about it. Full circle. Culture change. Right, so what does this mean for the security team? It means the security team needs to get running shoes, and we need to learn to sprint and change our attitude about a lot of things. The security team needs to celebrate with dev and ops when they do awesome things, right? Another thing we need to do is we need to make time, the security team, to make dev and ops days better from a security perspective. Right? Like, we don't want you to be spending a very large percentage of your time doing security. We don't want to be this huge workload that's added to you. You're like, oh, the security team's so awful. Like, we need to concentrate on being efficient for you, so we need to learn more. Okay, and another thing we need to do, which is a thing none of you will like, is we need to introduce faults into the system. So let's say that, who here has heard of, Netflix made this tool called Chaos Monkey? Yeah, so it would just go and turn off random things so that they knew that it would fail over gracefully into the next thing and not interrupt the movie you're watching and forget all about you. And at first the developers were like, and the ops people were like, what's your problem? But it's the same thing for security. So the security team, to test resiliency, to make sure everyone's continuously learning, we need to have red team exercises. I would much rather that when hackers are attacking my system, they work for me, and then they tell me how they got in and they show me how to fix it, rather than them selling whatever they found on the black market. But enough about the security team. We're here for dev and ops. So what does this mean for all of you? It means if the security team offers you training, please take it. That's awesome. If they don't offer you training, you can train yourself. I'm going to have a bunch of resources at the end of this. I share all my stuff online for free, and I have links to all sorts of other things I think are cool, because I want everyone to learn. I want to not have a job. I want to be like, oh, everyone's coding securely now, all the apps are secure, my work here is done. I'll move into science, it'll be great. Another thing you can do is, if you find a security bug and you fix it, share that information with the rest of the team. Right? I remember the first time that cross-site scripting happened to me, I was like, we need to have a meeting. I need to tell you about this bad thing that happened. And then we're all aware, instead of just me. Right? This is something that you can do. Another thing you can do is, so I know a lot of security teams don't do this yet, but it's coming out more and more, is where you do security simulations or security exercises. So the Canadian government does this a lot, and I worked for them for a long time, where we would have like a fake incident. We would have a simulation of an event, and everyone would have to act how they're supposed to act. Be like, oh, there's malware on this machine, what would you do? Or you can have a big security exercise where you have like big groups of people and everyone's running the same exercise. You might think, oh, this sounds silly, but it really, really helps. The Canadian government runs an election, a fake election, 6 months before the real one, every time. And so I coordinated all the security across the country in 2015 when we voted in that nice guy, Justin Trudeau with the great hair. Yeah, we like him. And we practiced 6 months before, and we threw in tons of security incidents. And then we're like, oh, that went poorly. And then we updated things, and we updated our processes, and we offered more training. And so when the actual election happens, did you notice us in the news for having big security problems? No, because we had them all 6 months ago when we like failed and it was awful. And this is something you can do where you work too. Another thing you can do is you can ask for metrics from the security team. I worked somewhere once, and I was like, give me the top 3 things that you found in the past year whenever you've been doing scans or vulnerability assessments or pen tests. And they said, we have cross-site scripting all over the place, and we are allergic to security headers. Great! So I made a lunch and learn on those. And then they nosedived. We stopped finding those problems. You can get rid of an entire bug class like a whole type of one bug, if you train everyone on it, if you know it's a problem and it's systemic where you work. So ask the security team for metrics, because they've got them. And the last one is to ensure when you do a postmortem, you do a blameless postmortem. We're going to talk about that next. Okay, this is the last photo slide until the end where I'm like, please read my blog. I'm shameless, I know. Okay, so I'm running short on time, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, so security is everybody's job. Everyone's job. So we need to do a culture change if that's going to work, right? One thing we can do is we can celebrate security wins. If you get a great mark on a pen test, that's awesome. You should celebrate. You kick ass, because that's hard. Because as someone who used to be a pen tester, if I don't find stuff, I look like a loser. So I'm trying really hard. Another thing you can do is like, if you handle an incident really well, if you do a release and fix a bunch of security bugs, you can celebrate this, like whether it be high fives or buying donuts or whatever it is that you like. I mean, I like wine and chocolate, but you know, I'll take what I can get. Another thing you can do is you can try to work more closely with the other team. And by this I mean, have the security team sit on the same floor as dev and ops, right? Like hold meetings together, have social functions together. A lot of times teams are separate. I have 5 minutes left, okay. Another thing you can do is have blameless postmortems, or I was told I would get 5 extra minutes, or. I was told I would get 5 extra minutes because they. Thank you. Okay, so from now on, it's not Alice's fault or Bob's fault that something happened. It's what safeguard was missing, what process was broken that allowed this to happen. If we allow people to save face, and we don't blame a person, instead we figure out what was wrong, what happened, how to fix it, and then how to make sure it doesn't happen again, right? Like, errors are allowed. We're human, we make mistakes, but it's not okay to not learn when we do. Another thing is we can create security champions. I want all of you to become security champions, seriously. Whenever I find someone that's on the dev team that's super into security, I'm like, come here, I'm gonna teach you cool shit. because I wanna encourage them. I want them to be that person where I tell them something and then they tell all the other developers because they're excited. If there's an ops person that's like, oh yeah, I wanna automate these types of security responses. I want to do this. I want to encourage that person so much because they are doing part of my job for me and making life a lot easier, right? So you can become a security champion where you work. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to get really awkward with you and all of you have to put up your hands. So the definition of quality needs to include secure, resilience, learning, speed, and feedback. Feedback about security. Speed in addressing security issues, learning about security, and resilience as in availability, which is a huge part of security. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna make you promise something. I know this sounds really lame, but I'm really socially awkward, and so this is what happens to you. I have read that if you make people promise to do something and they say the words out loud, that they are 80% more likely to actually do it. So if you say to someone like, don't do this, and they're like, as opposed to, I will not do this, they're 80% more likely to obey. And so I would like everyone to put up their right hand. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, I have 10 minutes left. No, more, over there. Hands up, everyone. I see you back there texting. I need your hand up. Thank you. Okay, everyone repeat after me. Security is a part of quality. I will make security a priority. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And now I have conclusion. Security's hard. I want to give you some resources. Microsoft went to DevOps. It was not a smooth ride. It was not a smooth ride. If you want to feel better about yourself and learn some tricks, you can go here. I have a project with OWASP called DevSlop, as in sloppy DevOps, And you can see me and the rest of my team and various guests on my little video show learning about DevSecOps. So each of the ideas that I presented in this talk, we're going to do them live, streaming once a week, but then also like save all of the videos. We're going to try to translate them into other languages. If you want to volunteer to help, that would be great. If you have an idea of something for the show, we'd love to hear it. So rather than me talking about high-level stuff, I want to like physically show you how. And you can see me fail. And I'm not immortal, right? Like people up here, you should see how many mistakes we make before we get it right. So please feel free to come learn. I have a blog where I'm a giant nerd, and all my slides are available here, and that is my little weird show, and that's me on Twitter. I do all these things. I would love this to be the start of our long-term relationship. I know. And then I want to finish off with, what have we learned today? Security. I need security to be on your mind, and I need it to be a part of your everyday work, because security is literally everyone's job. Thank you. Do we have any time for questions, or
Yes, sure.
Does anyone have any questions? I know normally I offer candy as bribes, but I forgot them in my hotel room. I'm so sorry. Does anyone have any questions? If you're shy and you don't want to ask one now, I'm going to be out there. Yeah, at the back. Okay, so the question is, you're preaching to the choir. Everyone agrees. That's why they're at AppSec. How do you deal with people where there's resistance? Honestly, usually I hack something in front of them, and then they're like, ooh, I'm like, want me to show you how? I find like drawing people in with curiosity as opposed to trying to force my ideas on them. I'm like, hey, I found this thing wrong. Can I show you? I try to approach it as using honey to try to attract people over instead of vinegar or a stick. I worked at this one place and I wanted everyone to take this secure training, but I knew I wasn't allowed making it mandatory, so what I did was try to make it really cool. I'm like, who wants to watch me break into a bank? And my friend Nicole Becker made an insecure bank example, and then we all like go in, and then I put everyone, I'm like, look, I spilled everything in the database, and everyone's like, oh my God. And I'm like, who wants to hack stuff with me? Then I showed them all how to use Zap. And eventually the last dev team came. And they're like, we heard that the training was pretty cool. Can we still, because they're like, we're not coming. We don't have time for that crap. And then eventually they're like, can we come? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And like we went into incidents that we had, and we told them about incidents. We had some data exfiltrated that was publicly available on our website. We're like, why would you work that hard? It's like right there. It's like on the page. But and then we like showed people that. Like we showed them a whole bunch of stuff, and just, I guess curiosity is what I try to work with. And then if not, I try to show them money and how it saves money. Everyone likes money. Does anyone else have any? Did I answer your question? It's okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much for coming to my talk. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tanya.